What's up, gang? You know what it is. Another Friday, another live stream. We are live. Gonna let some people filter in. We got some exciting stuff, some updates, some could you, should yous, as always, and a little bit of dyno action, just for a good measure. So I'm gonna let some people jump on in here, but let's see what we're working with today, baby. I think it's something that everyone who's been around for a while is gonna know and is gonna like. Oh yeah. Purple car, yo. Purple cars are faster. And it looks like we're about to find that out. It looks like we're about to find that out, y'all. So let's see what's happening. Jeremy's doing his little thing, CO2. All right, get ready, y'all. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. All right. I love that. I see you in here, Jeff. I see you in here, Jeff. You got anything to say to Jeff, Jay?
Hi, Jeff. Hopefully you're watching.
He is. He's in here. All right.
So we'll just explain. I know some people are watching, and I know, Jeff, we were just talking about it. So we just finished up Jeff's build. It's a new HHP 426, billet bottom end, Nitec heads, proper 426. The biggest change from before is his intake manifold. And then we went to CO2 for the boost leash over the E-Boost 2 with no CO2. So what you're seeing here, which I was talking to Jeff about, see how power's falling off right there? You can see down low our boost is staying nice and flat. What we've been seeing more and more, now that these have aged to them, alternators are struggling. So what's happening on Jeff's car, after 6,000 RPM, the voltage is dropping from the alternator. So we actually have a couple other cars here. That's one of them, actually.
Yep.
Silver one.
Shop car had it happening.
Shop car happened. The 1,300 wheel horsepower Trackhawk. So it's more common than most people think. It's just they're getting tired and they need assistance. So talking to Jeff now, if we change the alternator out, the horsepower is going to carry out even further. So we're just breaking it in, very soft tune right now. We just wrapped it up. So Jeff, hopefully you saw it.
Oh, he's watching. He's in the comments. Do the eye emoji.
So finish the updates. I'll get the room ready.
All right. So, just wanted to show you that little bit of power this Friday. Assuming everything we add also adds electrical load. J-Dog, can you explain why the alternator is struggling at such high RPM?
Oh, it's the amount of strain. So it's a combination of, this one has an ice tank in the back, chiller, all the electronics that are there in the first place. But then as you increase horsepower, the demand on the spark is increased as well. Injectors, everything requires more. So, these alternators are only designed for a certain amount of amperage at 700 horsepower. But when you're essentially doubling the horsepower this car makes, the electronics just can't keep up sometimes. So.
And when you reach this point, because someone's asking, stock or aftermarket?
We jumped to an aftermarket purely because, one, they're about half the price. And two, you want something with the ability to handle the additional load and amperage.
I believe it went Meachman?
Yep.
Metchman?
Yep. Metchman,
So,
Meachman,
something or another.
Yeah, say it
but
like that, but yeah, they're half the price. They're direct bolt-on. Like I said, he has one on there. The silver
I'll point that out when we go over.
Yeah, you can't see it, but yeah, that one, and then the Trackhawk that we had to send the Whipple off for the rebuild on. Same thing happened. Car, after 6,000 RPM, started falling on its face like spark blowout. And then that's essentially what's happening. The spark gets so weak, the injectors, the fuel system and everything are based off of 13.5, 14 volts, but when you're down to 12 volts, nothing responds the same. So I just tested a lower boost level. We had 28 pounds of boost, and it completely fell off before, but this is technically 22, 23 pounds post intercooler. So
she's making good steam, buddy.
for conservative too, not too bad. So we were hoping for 15, and I bet you after we get that alternator, she'll easily make 15. So but she's almost there, Jeff. Almost there.
We are close, gang. Do not give up hope. So let's get into those updates. Jeremy's gonna go prep the room. A little could you, should you action. First things first. I don't know if you saw it. There's a 420 cubic inch forged motor in that puppy. It's made $12.50. It's for sale. Stop waiting 6 months for a motor. Just buy this and you're golden. Just pop it in, boom, you're good. Don't even tell your wife you bought it. Just put it in her 5.7 Grand Cherokee. She won't know the difference. Bengal's back there, just waiting on a lift right now. Let's get into it, though. So this is that 3.8 Whipple car. Good old Billet Evolution, Rings of Hell, 375. You cannot see it, but she's down there. You can't really see the fancy bits, but it's down there. It's in there. Yeah, new AC compressor. Just a lot of racing on this, and racing's tough on stuff, man. Racing's tough on stuff. Show some turbo stuff. I don't know. You're gonna have to send me a DM for that. But racing's tough on stuff. AC compressor went out and alternator went out. I believe it was all the same track day. So big old fun things. But new AC compressors in there, alternator, getting her back together, dialing some things in. AC's recharged. Inner chiller went on. Inner chiller. What intake is on that Whipple? Let's go take a look at it, Don. This is off of our 3D printer. It's a big old velocity stacked, radius inlet, whatever you want to call it. Basically helps smooth out air, helps smooth it all out. Okay, no one read comments. Mike's, I'm gonna have to time Mike out. He's getting a little raunchy over here. But basically, it just helps smooth everything out. Calms down the airflow a bit, speeds it up, whatever you want to say. But basically, it just helps increase airflow. We've seen just changing this, nothing else. Maybe a little tune tweak, but pop one of these on. We've seen them gain 50 horsepower on a pretty built setup. So definitely something to look at. He runs this setup at the track. It's modified for the 3.8 Whipple with the big throttle body to fit in here. So if this is something you want, you need, like Michael Meegan says, it creates velocity. Air goes in faster, more power happens, tires spin. Unless you got 15s like this. Woo-wee. All right, let's get into it. Subframe is back in that Durango. I know we were waiting on subframe bushings. We ain't anymore. I don't know if you can see that. Subframe bushing, brand new. So truck has a decent amount of miles. I know I went over it last live stream. Basically what this has done is a lot of the stuff that's gone back in has been freshened up. So she should be a juicy unit. She should be riding nice. Hoping to have some more info on that later. WK1 putting a motor in it. Wouldn't you believe it? Parts. It seems like this lift is cursed and everything that goes on it waits for parts. My car has been on it and waits for parts. But lifters is about all it's holding it up. Once we have the lifters, we can throw everything back together and get jiggy with it and have fun. So yeah, let's see. What else do we have? We have a Lincoln. It's Captain's helmet. Captain Helmet's truck. It's a little Lincoln Mark LT. Spun a rod, so I'm helping him pull the motor. And we're actually gonna take Jeff's motor out of his car and replace it with a 5.4 and then just put billet valve covers on it, and no one will be able to tell the difference. So let's see what Dan's up to. I'm gonna put the camera right in his face because he likes that and tells me about it. What's up, Dan?
Doing a fuel system on this 392.
Ooh-wee!
Well, not anymore. It's gonna be what, a 426?
Not anymore. Yeah, it's gonna be a big mama jama. 426 Whipple, RPM, stage 7, built trans, McLeod, I believe is getting an RXT clutch, aluminum radiator. There is so much going on with this car. I could probably sit down and just list for 10 minutes the parts that are going on it. Unfortunately, my mental capacity is not up there, so don't know if we'll be doing that. But when it's finished, I will go over the entire build with you, obviously dyno and all that fun stuff. This car is going to be a riot. It was dropped off stock with the tune. I think it maybe had headers on it, and it's going to be going back, making some good power. So, world of difference for him. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, Dan's just doing his thing, making fuel lines. We use the braided stainless PTFE lined lines. They work better with ethanol. That's what we use in all of our builds. So if you're gonna do it, don't do those rubber lines. Spend the change, get the stainless ones with the PTFE insert, no rubber. Turbo kit continues. Charge pipe. Logan, I'm a married man. You can't hit him anymore. I didn't see you get married. Anyway, charge pipes. That's where we are. We are doing charge pipes on the old Jupe. The Jeep. What was it? The downpipe, wastegate, all that exhaust stuff. Money. But it's just charge pipes. We got a whole bunch of pretty polished aluminum stuff, and as you can see, the process begins. So I might actually use this as an exhaust pipe. Just kind of have it, you know, point out and up. Helps the downforce, you know. How long does it take to get a single-size clutch plate when ordered online? I am not sure off the top of my head right now, but if you shoot us a message, one of the guys that's currently in the office will be able to get a answer for you. Shoot us a message, let us know. Also, shop truck, it's for sale. It's for sale. I think 115,000, some odd like that. Helium kit, gutted blower, injectors, all the good stuff, all the right stuff, and it's getting washed. It's getting washed. It's getting washed by the main man, Matt, doing his work. I ain't gonna show him. If you want to see him, you have to come in person. Can I touch this door handle or will you kill me?
Go for it.
Okay. I just want to pop the hood and show everyone what it is again. In case y'all have forgotten. I gotta be careful with Matt. Too many times I've touched cars that have been clean and oh, Matt, I'm sorry. It dripped. He's gonna kill me. I won't be answering phones today. Matt will kill me. But gutted blower, helium setup. Jeremy's Charger did sell. Yes. No more. Mike, you can't tell me I can't flirt with you and then comment stuff like that, man. You're sending mixed messages. But helium setup, gutted blower, ID injectors, I believe booster pump. I don't remember. My memory's really bad. But it does have dual billet evolution race catch cans. So if you're interested in this truck, if you want a little Satera special, if you don't want to wait for your stuff to get done and you just want it now, I want a TRX, I want boost, I want it now, hit my line, buy it. Or I will, and then I'll never have a house, but I'll have a truck. So, oh God. Can someone please comment? Okay, there we go. Finally, that comment is removed from my screen. What up, y'all?
How much time? You give it a no horsepower. If we see over 14,
All right.
then yes.
Should you? Mike's making comments. He told me he's married and I can't flirt with him, and then he goes ahead and changes it.
Whatever you two have. It's so special. So special.
He wants me to wash his car.
Wash whose car?
Mike wants me to wash his car in a certain type of wear.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so special. All right. What's going on, everybody? So we'll get to our product review. As we talked about, the performance diff braces. So they have it for pretty much, you know, all of the modern Mopars. And, you know, we're just going to show it off and kind of discuss what it does and why you need it, right? So go ahead, Tula. I already got it set up for you. All right. So we utilize the Performance, DRS, and their whole line of differential braces. The big bad boys is usually what we opt for. Beautiful machined and assembled products. So what does this do and why is it important? The concept is we have to look at an IRS suspension vehicle. So it has the rear differential, but it has obviously all the suspension components holding it in place versus a solid rear axle where as it says, it's a solid rear axle where everything is kind of aligned in one. So when you have a rear differential on an IRS, it's held in place by rubber bushings. Now, any type of rubber on your vehicle allows for any slop, movement, oscillation, whatever the case may be. So the concept behind this is it ties your differential into your rear subframe. So it ties it to the car and eliminates the ability, reduces, there might be a little bit still, but essentially tries to get rid of the ability for that rear differential to move in separate tandem than, you know, what the chassis is doing. Why is that important? Again, when the rubber parts are moving across the board, when you go to launch the vehicle, any type of aggressive manner, you can see wheel hop, you can struggle with traction, so this helps to put the power down and prevent that type of oscillation. So we were actually talking to a customer that sadly lost a rear end due to wheel hop. So on the IRS cars, when they spin, they don't always just spin freely, they bounce, and that's essentially what wheel hop is. When you watch it on a video in slow motion, it's pretty interesting and scary, and if you stay in it too long when that's happening, it can create a lot of havoc. It can really destroy a lot of things.
I mean, the Demons when they first came out.
Yeah, the Demons when they first came out, even, you know, Hellcats in general were breaking them, and that's the whole point why these were developed. So you're locking it to the subframe, preventing that differential from moving. So it removes a piece from the puzzle that can move, and it allows the power to be put down. You know, we talked a couple weeks ago about, you know, polyurethane in regards to upgrading bushings or anything like that. It's kind of a similar concept in which it just locks it into place a little better. You throw this on and it will help with wheel hop. It does help improve traction, and it will keep your differential alive. So our shop car, 1,500 wheel horsepower, 1,260 foots. The silver car you saw out there, 1,260 foots. You know, full weight vehicles, they all have a rear diff brace on it with stock rear ends. So I don't think the rear end would be living if it didn't have that in place. So it's tested, it's proven. What I love about it too is they're constantly trying to improve as well. So they're on several revisions now too in regards. They're always trying to make it better, stronger, to help benefit the community. So
this is another new one.
So it's one of their latest designs with the little R at the end of it. So improved weight savings, stronger, and they're always trying to improve. So top-notch quality, top-notch service, and they do, yeah. And any high horsepower build that we do does get
one.
this. You know, our push and motion package includes that. You know, you're going to the racetrack, you know, one of the things we're going to check to make sure you have is a rear diff brace on there. They do have them for the truck platforms as well. Not so much the TRXs per se, just due to the fact that by design they're not IRS, you know, in regards to the rear axle. So not really crucial, but the Durangos, the Trackhawks, the whole car chassis, they have it going all the way back to the OGs. So
there's not a point where one of these is not needed,
right.
I think.
Yeah.
It's
Could you, should
mod.
you? We'll segue into it. You know, could you put one on? Yes. Should you? Absolutely. There are no negatives to throwing this onto your vehicle. Regardless of the power you have, it just will improve reliability and performance across the board. There really is no negative to this one, no question. Anytime anybody asks, the answer is yes. So thank you guys over at Performance for what you guys do. Outstanding product. Keep it up, and we will keep installing it. So.
Now, I saw someone ask, and it kind of ties in, what about front diff braces on the all-wheel drive platforms?
Again, it's one of those, it does, you know, strengthen, right? So anything you do to brace it together will strengthen it. I will say I have yet to see really one kind of explode in a manner, but it's not a negative thing. There's no, it's not useless. It's not going to hurt anything by putting it in place, like we said. But
you're adding strength, you're adding support.
Absolutely,
not a bad thing to do.
Absolutely. So there's no negatives to it. You know, it's one of those. That's why it is optional. The rear, definitely, because that's where a majority of the strain and stress is. Absolutely. The front one, I know it took a lot longer to develop, to verify and make sure it's actually improving the strength and everything. So definitely good for the high horsepower
the
guys.
Race brace on the front.
On the front of
the front two bolts?
Yeah, the front two bolts on that one. Again, what that's tying together is strengthening from left to right. So they have an addition to this where the bushings on the front of the differential, they call it the race brace, kind of ties it together. One, it kind of acts as, you know, it can kind of catch something if it were to fall, right? Two, it ties it left to right more so than to the subframe because it goes to the bushings on the front. So again, another tying left to right and strengthening together. So again, optional, doesn't hurt to put it in place, no negatives to doing so. So great product.
These are fantastic. Even on a stock car, Killer product.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so then we'll lead into the other could you, should yous, and questions we have. Keep them coming while we're going, and we'll revisit back to them. So what do we got first?
Heard it come up a couple of times. Wanted to touch on it. Could you, should you? FIC injectors over ID, and FIC, I guess there are two. So either or.
Yeah, so we hit on this a little more in depth a few weeks ago, so we'll revisit it again. So what are you looking for in an injector? And the reason why we use injector dynamics, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to talk bad about anybody else. I'm going to focus on why we use injector dynamics on our builds. Now, I will preface that I do tune FICs, both the brands that are FIC. If you saw Alex from Legit Street Cars, he had the fuel injector connection, tune those. I will tune whatever you provide. The reason we choose injector dynamics is the quality from low pulse width to high pulse width operation, the data that's provided, the amount of engineering that actually goes into the area of the injector when you're starting it and it's idling and you're driving it around. Understand that what most people focus on with injectors is, hey, I need the CCs at wide open throttle to handle the horsepower I want. Absolutely, that's very important. At the same time, we also want to make sure that when you start it up in the morning when it's cold out, that they can idle down. You want to make sure that while doing part throttle acceleration with no boost, that it still drives smooth like stock or even better. That's where injector dynamics, in my opinion, shines, because their injector data and the way they design these injectors to flow at low pulse width operations. I mean, you can throw a set of ID 2600s into a vehicle and get it to idle, which is insane when you really break it down and go back over, years of trying to get that to happen. So the amount of engineering and concept they put into the tips and the way that they flow at low pulse width operations. So always remember, most of us watching and building these cars, our customer base, are not race cars. They're driven on the street 90% of the time with occasional racing. So the wide open throttle portion, just as important as the low pulse width operation. Startup, idle, drivability, decel, everything along those lines goes a long way. And injector dynamics truly does put the time into making these work in those areas just as well as on the big end. The other thing too, not all of them, but just compared to injector dynamics, their flow ratings are based on 43.5 psi of fuel pressure. So on Hellcats, modern vehicles with return style fuel systems, generally we start around 60 psi and can go up to 80 to 100 psi. So those ID 1300s or 1340 cc's actually flow upwards of just under 1500 cc's, right? That's why ID 1700s, we're able to make 1600 wheel horsepower on them when done right, even though they're only rated at 1700 cc's, or now the ID 1750s. So you have to compare that to other brands, which they rate their injectors based on OEM fuel pressure at 58 psi, and that's going to obviously affect the fuel flow in regards to what you're going to see at any given fuel pressure, right? So remember that in an application where you're targeting 80 psi, but your fuel pressure drops down to 45 because the fuel system can't keep up, those IDs are flowing at what they're advertising they're going to flow at. Others do not, so they're actually dropping below what they're rated at. So something rated at, we'll say, 1200 cc's at 40 psi is not actually flowing 1200 cc's. So this is why you have to make sure you understand the ratings and how they are set up. So that is why we use injector dynamics for our injector choices, is their low pulse width operation as well as their wide open throttle pulse width operation.
What's your name again? Quantez, right?
Speaking on injector dynamics, you got a set in your TRX.
Yeah.
Want to give more details about that sucker?
What do you mean?
Watching for sale?
Oh, the turbo? Yeah. So TRX is leaving. I keep threatening it, but I keep driving it because I enjoy it so much. But I am selling the TRX as a whole. If somebody buys it, they can buy it 110 grand. It's yours. Take it. But if not, I will be parting it out, so it does have a used set of ID 1300s in it. We also have the turbo kit, Helion twin 64mm turbo setup, under 3,000 or just over 3,000 miles on it now, so that is available too. So do if anybody's interested, let us know. But what's that?
Time frame on Demon 170 Flex Fuel tune for older Hellcats.
Kendrick, believe it or not, I have yet to have anybody. For the beta testing on that, we wanted a stock or otherwise stock bolt-on style Hellcat. Nobody has stepped forward for it, so we are still waiting. Most of the people that want the Demon 170 Flex Fuel have our flex fuel already, so there's no reason to change, or they're extremely highly modified. And for the beta testing of it, we do like otherwise stock vehicles to minimize variables that might come into the development of it. So I just need a stock 2017 and older Hellcat that wants to give it a shot. So pretty confident in it, just haven't had anybody step up to do it yet. So we do offer our true flex fuel setup. That goes back to the 15 and on, so that's kind of what most people end up opting for since it's developed, tried, tested, and available. So anybody with a 15, 16, 17 Hellcat want to give it a shot. Trackhawks, Durangos, TRXs, right now it's not going to be a thing, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. The development we saw requires a lot more changes, including a full harness. So the end-all cost to get it to our consumer is just one of those. I just don't think it's worth it.
It's stupid expensive. It's
just not worth it, especially with the alternate solutions that are out there. Just stick with the alternate solution and run with it. Yeah, a value where, for me as a business, it just doesn't make sense for me to pursue it. So tried it on my TRX. Kind of figured out what it needed after I did the math on it. It's well over twice the price of like the True Flex Fuel system that's available.
Do the True Flex Fuel system.
Yeah,
if you got a Durango, Trackhawk, TRX, do the True Flex Fuel system. Speaking of E85 and making tons of horsepower, should you attempt to make 700 wheel horsepower on a stock scat motor?
So we did it 2-3 weeks ago. We posted the video of the 1320 that was whippled. Yeah, the white one whippled. Customer built it himself. Fuel system, he did it the right way. We made 700 wheel on the bone stock motor. From last time I talked to him a couple days ago, it's still driving too. So, and he actually races and beats the heck out of him. So he lives like 10 minutes away from a racetrack. So, so the way this works, guys, on specifically Scat Pack 392. I do see RT, so we'll visit those. So we'll start with the 392 motors. The reason they blow up is the top ring has all rings on pistons have a ring gap. From the factory, it's a very tight ring gap. So when you introduce more horsepower, you introduce more heat, which causes more expansion of the metals, and then they touch each other. When that happens, it's called pinching a ring, and it goes boop, and it pops up, and it breaks the ringlet. That's why. So it's a luck of the draw because it depends on where that ring gap is. If it's in one of the spots opposite of the valve relief, you might get a little more life out of it. If you're unlucky and that gap on that ring is by a valve relief, it's going to pinch and you're going to lose the piston. It's just the way that it goes. And just like anything, the higher the horsepower, the more heat, the more risk there is. It's just the way it goes. There is no answer of, yes, at this boost level, it's going to live. At this boost level, it's not going to live, so on and so forth. It's a risk, and the higher the horsepower, the more. So what can you do to make 700 wheel horsepower and try to increase the reliability? Control those temperatures. Water meth injection if you're staying on pump gas. E85, obviously it cools from the inside out. Higher octane. What also increases the temperature and the expansion ring detonation. So anything to battle that in combination with the temperatures. You do those things, it will increase the chances of longevity. It does not mean it's going to live. So we are just honest here. We just tell people. So that's pretty much it. Could you? Yes. Have we done it? Yes. We posted a video of it a couple weeks ago. Should you? As long as you understand the risks and you take the proper steps, and go for it, man. I had a 392 Charger. I made 660 to the wheels with our poacher kit. And, I was on pump gas before I was trying to blow it up. It's the way I get, the wife lets me, upgrade stuff. Is, I broke it. Whoops. So I was trying to blow it up and it didn't blow up. I was one of the lucky ones. Now, I do notice the BGE blocks, so 18 and newers, can take a little more abuse and tend to live a little longer. Naturally, the benefits of a stronger block with better cooling, you get that. Keyword cooling. So that's why, right? So you can, yeah, absolutely. Just take the steps and understand the risks. 5.7s, their motors by design. We have made 700. We post a couple of videos, 650, 700 wheel. Again, E85 is our magic to do it. It keeps things cool from the inside out. Higher octane kind of helps prevent detonation and control the temps better. The ring gap and the ring lind on a 5.7 is a little bigger than that of a 392, so they tend to respond a little better to it. And we see with abuse, even at that 650, 700 range, they tend to live longer. So yes, you can do it. Could you? Go for it. Absolutely. Just understand it. Nothing is indestructible, especially, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. Anything can blow up at any given time. So that's how you do it. We do it mainly with the 85 and a lot of boost. So,
is it possible to put a 3.8 Whipple on a 6.4 base built motor?
Yes. Yeah, you can, absolutely. So,
6.1.
So yes, so what about, I don't know, we'll clarify in the 6.1, but in regards to the 3.8, yes, you can bolt a 3.8 onto a 6.4 base. The bolt pattern that matters is the heads, right? So it just depends on that. If you you can get adapter plates for the HELLCAT 3.8 and then the 392 snout on it and so on and so forth, or you do it the right way and get a full, Thiatech head or HELLCAT headed setup with
HELLCAT front drive.
HELLCAT front drive.
10 rib.
This is what I'm going to tell you. A 3.8 Whipple is so big, unless you have like a big Q motor or very, very high horsepower goals, I personally wouldn't put it on it. As we say all the time, the goal is to get the smallest power adder you can to achieve your horsepower that you want. So in an instance like that, what is your horsepower goal? Throwing a 3.8 Whipple on a 392 base setup with a 6 rib, you're not going to achieve the horsepower you want. I can tell you now, the belt's going to slip because of how much force is needed to turn those rotors. So the inertia behind it is going to tear the belts up on it. So the 3-liter Whipple is better, good option for 90% of the people out there. So again, horsepower goals and base it off of that. You don't want to put a massive blower on a car. It's not beneficial unless you actually are spinning it to the RPMs that meet its efficiency range. Because if you underspin a big blower, it actually makes less horsepower than a smaller blower being overspun. So it all comes down to pairing it up to everything that you need. Start with that horsepower goal and then work backwards and make sure everything you're purchasing achieves that. So what did Eric say about the 6.1?
Speaking of pulleys, before you jump on that one,
yeah.
Do you have to change lower pulley when changing the top pulley on a HELLCAT or a 6.4 or whatever supercharged setup?
You don't have to. It's just you changing the lower pulley can contribute to your boost levels just like the upper pulley. So on a supercharged application, the larger you make the lower pulley, the more boost it makes. On a supercharger, the smaller you make it, the more boost it makes. So it's a matter of figuring out your power goals and getting the desired boost level that you want to achieve those power goals. So you don't have to. It's just one of those. There is a point where it makes more sense, right? Because you could keep going smaller and smaller and smaller on that upper pulley, but then you're going to battle belt slip. So by doing the lower pulley, you can add boost while increasing and maintaining belt wrap and surface area and reduce or prevent belt slip. So it just depends on that boost level you are trying to achieve.
Can you make 700 horsepower on a stock 6.1?
Oh, I've made way more. Yeah, 6.1s, they love it. I made 800 or something on my WK1 back in the day with about 15 pounds of boost. So again, it's by design. They can, they don't have a very tight ring gap. The compression's not as high, so it's a little more friendly to it. It's still a high compression motor for boost, but not like a 392. So again, the way to it, I've done many 6.1s that way, is E85. Proper tuning, E85. They don't live forever, I'll tell you that much. They do not live forever, but you can make some really, really good power. I mean, there's guys with hundreds of thousands of miles on there making 700 wheel horsepower plus out of these 6.1s because just by design they're simpler, lower compression, and they are very boost friendly. So love throwing boost with those. You pair it up with corn, yeah, they eat all day long. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of e-boost and other stuff, how much horsepower can you make on a superstock using 93 safe and reliable street car?
So the HELLCAT platform, the motors, you base your boost levels and your limitations on the compression, the valve train design, everything, the components within. So any HELLCAT, for the most part from the factory, is 9.5-1 compression. So just general rule of thumb on that. Pump gas we see right around 15, on the high end 16 pounds of boost is what you want to target for that given type of compression. That being said, how can you make more power out of pump gas? Our level 1 package for the Superstock / Red Eye averages high 700s, low 800s on pump gas.
How much boost?
About 15 to 16 pounds. So they average about 14 to 15 from the factory. So we do a small pulley change to add about 1.5 pounds of boost. And that's kind of where they settle. Now, if you want more than that, so it's roughly 100 to 140 horsepower gains, right? If you want more than that, how can you do that? Well, you have to modify the engine. So if you do our Satan Staff camshaft, a set of 2-inch long tube headers, poured the blower, what you do there is you're improving the efficiency of everything. So what we can do now is we can spin the blower slower and not create additional parasitic drain, but increase boost. we throw 2-inch long tube headers on, which frees up the exhaust, dropping boost. And then you put a proper cam profile in there. Again, makes the engine breathe easier, dropping boost. Because boost is a measurement of restriction. So what we're doing is making everything work and breathe better. So we posted a couple months ago a video up of a HELLCAT that did our level 1.5 package paired with our cam and long tube header setup. That car made 950 to the wheels at just over 14 pounds of boost on E85, barely spinning his 2.4 blower to make, like we said, 14 pounds of boost with the combination. But because of what we did with everything else, he made 950 on corn and about 850 on pump gas. So again, we were able to make an additional 40, 50, 60 horsepower on pump gas because by doing the cam and the headers, we dropped the boost level at the same pulley combination. So then we were able to pulley down a little more aggressively, spin the blower slightly faster, and then by porting it, he ended up going from our 286 to our 274 upper to make 14 pounds of boost. So stock lower, and he made 850 wheel on 93 pump gas. So we had another one, same combination. It has a cam in it, not our cam, somebody else's cam. Again, made well over 800 wheel horsepower. I think he actually made almost 900 wheel horsepower because he was pulleyed a little more aggressive. He had a lower pulley on it. So again, that one was just under 900 wheel horsepower by getting it to that 15.5, 16 pounds of boost on pump gas. So that depends on what you want to do. Simple pulley, injectors, and a tune, you can gain 100, 120, 140 horsepower, no problem out of your super stock. If you want more than that, throw a cam and long tubes on it and port that blower for reliability. And then you're talking, you can gain well over another 100 horsepower potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So send it.
Send it. Do it now. 2-for-1 special here. How much boost is our level 1 for a normal HELLCAT push? Mm-hmm. And on a, let's just say 2015 HELLCAT stock motor, what would you say cutoff is for horsepower?
All right, so we'll start with the first one. Our level 1 package, doesn't matter the HELLCAT platform, is designed to achieve around 15 horse PSI. So, depending on temperatures, depending on altitude, that might vary a little bit. So, 15, 16 PSI is possible out of our level 1. We have one I'll be posting on Monday. We did it yesterday, same day turnaround. That one, it was a little cooler out. It made 15.5 pounds of boost as an example. So, weather dependent, altitude dependent, 15 to 16 PSI is what we do target for our level 1s, and that's across the HELLCAT platform. So we designed it for the super stock, the red eyes. I get it, the motors are stronger. It doesn't mean you want to run more boost in them. It's just by design they are stronger at a given level. So when you're still on pump gas, you do want to maintain that same boost level. It's still the same compression. They just changed a couple things. It doesn't mean just because it's stronger that it can take the detonation, right? We're combating. Octane rating is to combat detonation. So, and based on the compression, that's where you see detonation kind of really start to kick in. So, right around 15, 16 PSI, any HELLCAT will be around that. HELLCAT powered vehicle. So, part 2 of the question, what was that again?
What safe wheel horsepower on a 2015 HELLCAT? I'm assuming stock motor.
Again, that depends. Well, safe, it's a relative word, right? The more horsepower you add, the less safe it can be. We've made 1,100 wheel horsepower, 1,200 wheel horsepower to bone stock cars because people wanted us to. It doesn't mean it's safe. Yeah. So what we do see on pump gas, high 700s, low 800s, is where we, usually see them fall. Throw corn in it. You can make 1,100 all day long, right? What we see, my honest answer to that is anything over 900 wheel horsepower, the reliability starts dropping just as quickly as the power goes up. It just is speaking from understanding the components, right? These things are built for 700 horsepower. Now we know, because the Demon 170 utilizes the same transmission, that a stock trans can handle 900, 930 to the wheels, right? So proper tuning, you can get some longevity out of it. But again, once you really start increasing that number over 900, you're going to start to find the weak links of your components there. So the reliability, the way it works is every horsepower you increase, reliability drops just as quick. Keep that in mind whenever you're modifying. So it doesn't matter the dollar you spend, it's just the way that it goes.
Absolutely. Keeping on the HELLCAT trend, ported blowers, ported snouts. Doing a ported snout by itself, does that increase horsepower? Do you really want to pair it with the the blower itself, and then what do we typically see on average for both horsepower gains?
So to clarify, because it's very generic when you hear porting of a blower. So what do these companies actually do? I will tell you, they've tried and tried and tried all different pieces of the blower to find out where the biggest benefit comes from, right? So what are you getting when you pay for a ported blower? When you send it off to any company, the two things that they are truly changing are the snout and then the bearing plate in which supports the rotors, okay? They don't port anything else. The runners, trialed, tested, doesn't change anything, okay? Lid, they've tried machining material, that doesn't work. They've tried everything. The only benefits do come from the bearing plate and the snout itself. So early on, they were doing just the snout, and they were gaining 25, 30 horsepower. The big gain came from the bearing plate, which was the biggest restriction for the rotors to get into it. So it's a 2-for-1. That is what you're getting. Most companies now port the actual snout where they machine it, and then they replace your bearing support with a billet bearing support. By design with engineering, they make it very strong, but free up the airflow to get into the rotors. So that is what you are getting. What do we see in regards to power output? I would say 40 to 80 horsepower is the gain, depending on your pulley combination. The faster you spin the blower, that's where the benefits. It's kind of a linear increase like a centrifugal blower. So if you're not really spinning the blower too fast, you don't always necessarily see the full gain out of it. But if you have like our level 2, 3 package on it, you can see upwards of an additional 80 horsepower by having the ported blower. The big piece of that is the throttle body. So if you port your snout and you port your bearing plate and then you put a stock throttle body on, guess what? Nothing's going to change.
Why?
They've learned that. So that's why, like on our packages, we use the 108 millimeter throttle body, because that's what they kind of open the opening to give it that free flowing path, right? My personal charger, when I sold it, we did the testing on it. I put the stock throttle body on, and it knocked a bunch of boost out of that thing. When I swapped it out, it was over 3 pounds of boost is what I gained by having a 108 millimeter throttle body, and the charger actually ran out of fuel system, so I had to run the stock throttle body on it. So it makes a significant change in power. You just got to, again, spec it accordingly. The other benefit by getting a ported blower is they have to rebuild them, in which they usually swap some of the bearings on it for HD high-end race bearings, which improve reliability as well. So
as things get higher in mileage, not a bad thing.
Right. You know, and then obviously we're increasing the RPM based on, you know, compared to factory. So, you know, those bearings aren't necessarily designed for the RPM of what you're trying to spin the blower to. So the HD race bearings are definitely designed for that. So not only can you get a bump in performance, but you also get a bump in reliability. Also have to disclose, it doesn't mean it's indestructible.
No.
So still, by doing this, we do have stock components in place, so there's still chances in which, you know, things might break. Okay, and we had a 2.7 blower. They're more common than the 2.4s, but a 2.7 blower not being overspun, it just ate itself. So that customer actually went with a 2.4 blower. Guess what? It made almost like to the exact same horsepower out of a ported 2.4 blower that it did to its ported 2.7 blower. Crazy. Didn't make as much low end torque, but the reality is when you're making 1,000 wheel horsepower, we actually pull torque out down low. So he getting it back, not going to feel a difference, because based on, you know, RPM and everything like that. So yeah, just be conscious that it's not indestructible. Okay, so just be conscious.
2.4 and spray is the way. Run a 350 shot on your stock motor.
Just send it.
Just go with it. Run with
Send it. I ran to 200 on the Durango.
Yeah. Unless you're cool and go turbos. Jeff, on the next dyno pull, I'm standing in front of your car and ghetto fogging it. So.
No, he's not.
Oh.
No, he's not.
Okay.
I don't have a nitrous bottle here, so
We
he's
don't.
not. Don't worry. John.
All we have is CO2, which is filled.
CO2 filled. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. After 3 visits.
Yeah.
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 Make
New
sure
bottle.
they weigh the
Yes.
bottle when they tell you it's full.
Hey guys, here's a brand new bottle. And you know what? It's full for you. Oh man, thanks. You're the best. And then I get to the shot, ready to put it on. Beep. Empty.
So
Yeah.
we tried, but we got it.
Double
It's
check.
working.
If you're willing to pay, if there are consequences, I'm in. I actually have a long block that I can swap in for you.
It's not the same.
It's a stock pre-Eagle 5.7.
Yeah,
It'll take boost.
anyways.
Anyway, going back to airflow.
Yes.
Could you, should you, is there any reason, not including a nitrous one, throttle body spacers?
Oh no. Could you? Should you? No and no. This is another one, kind of like the pedal commander. No and no.
No.
So this is a.
I want to do that one, the Bell Commander.
No. pedal commander. We should do that one.
Well,
as a
I'm
separate
touch
question,
on that, yeah.
So it's an old school mentality, in regards to directing airflow and things like that. Throttle body spacers are completely useless. I know they look pretty and you can get them in cool colors and stuff, but that's not even a yes. I'm just going to outright say no and no. And anybody that watches this knows we don't have a lot of no's and no's. This is just when you don't do it.
Most of the time, it's like, yeah, this is just flat no.
This is no.
Unless it's a nitrous plate.
Nitrous plate, yes,
Yeah,
that's
different.
That's the point.
That actually adds
introducing
power.
Nitrous, right?
Yeah.
Yes, a nitrous plate, throttle body plate. That's the whole point of it. But if it's just a spacer plate, no. Just no.
Next one. Could you, should you?
Buy merch.
Oh, God. Yeah, buy merch. Thank you. Buy merch. Put something on for us, old man. Look at that hat. You got the sticker
these.
on. Fresh off the...
We got the hoodies.
Wow, that looks good. Let me move that.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Look at that.
Come buy the merch.
Come
Hit
buy the
old man
merch.
up.
Hit us up.
Captain Helmet. We all here.
Yup.
You guys have a good one.
All right. Could you, should you? Buy merch, yes. Could you, should you? Pedal Commanders. You just sent your car here. It was a stock car. You pick it up. It's making 900 wheel, built trans, Whipple. Do you turn that Pedal Commander back on, or do you rip it out and sell it?
You sell it. You don't even buy it in the first place. This is another no. So, especially if you're going to modify your vehicle and tuning, tuners do adjust. I mean, I speak for myself. I do adjust the throttle settings, so it doesn't play nice sometimes with updated throttle settings. A custom tune, you can increase throttle response. So once you start there and actually gain power, because all it's doing is opening the throttle for you sooner instead of your foot.
Sell.
So use your foot. Use your foot
your
instead.
foot.
You want more go? Use the foot. Why do you need a little device to do that for you? I just don't understand it. And I've actually seen it take throttle bodies and pedals out. So again, this is a no and a no. Blow it up with fireworks. Yeah. So
yeah, we had a customer do a boosted setup on their 5.7. Picked it up on the way back home. They turned the throttle body on, and about 15 minutes after that, I got a call. Hey, my car's dead. Killed the throttle body.
Yep.
So.
Or the last one we had, we just did our just converted the 85 and was complaining about a weird lunging while in gear at a certain throttle. I turned off whenever I see him, I turn him off when I'm tuning. He turned it back on as soon as he got in the car, and that was creating all of the issues. So it's just a no and a no. I mean,
if you want to be more sensitive, talk to your tuner.
Yes.
Or use your foot.
Just use it. Try it out.
Foot.
Man, I just gotta say, the amount of times, I know there's some people probably in here, and I'm not calling you out, so don't highlight yourself, but I tell people to go wide open throttle and data logs, and they don't, and then they argue with me. So I have.
We can see it. We can see where your foot is.
It's more common than you would believe.
I did it yesterday. I had no idea.
Guys, don't be afraid of the pedal. Don't be afraid of it. Push it down. It's fun.
Yeah.
It really is exciting. All right.
I literally did it yesterday.
You're going on a tangent on
he called me out. I said, no, I didn't lift.
Yeah,
and
you did it too.
I went from 35 to 27.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I see it.
He sees it.
I see all.
Speaking of it, how hard is it to remote tune if you're going back and forth saying, I'm going watt, Jeremy, I'm going watt? You're actually 50%. But how hard is it to remote tune?
So how hard is it? It's like, I do compare. It's an easy one riding a bike. At first, it's a little foreign to most people. The reality is you as the end user, you're only hitting 3 buttons and then emailing something over. If you're using the TDN app, it's literally on the phone, and that's all you have to do. So the initial steps, I share several YouTube videos. I will send screenshots. My guys, I've taught all them how to do it for basic questions to answer. It's not difficult. Once you do it a couple times, it's easy. And it takes
muscle memory.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of practice. But the fact is, you do only hit 3 or 4 buttons depending on what application you use. So just getting there sometimes is the hardest part, but the setup is probably harder than the actual remote tuning portion. You send me a base file, I modify, I send it to you, you flash it, data log, send me that data log, and then we repeat. That's pretty much what it comes down to. So.
And listening and follow directions. So if you get sent a tune and it says this is a startup tune only, idle it for 5 minutes and send me a log, that does not mean go watt. Does not mean go watt.
To some it does.
Some it does. Speaking of tuning, what are the best AFR numbers? That's kind of a loaded question.
That is very loaded.
That's very loaded.
You tell me what conditions you want to look for. What feel do you have? What's your combination? What's your compression? What's your cam profile? What type of booster you run?
Throttle position.
You know, there's not one designated AFR. You know, the fuel type, the quality of the fuel, the modifications done, it's going to be very different depending on your application. So, you know, speaking from a Lambda base, the easiest way to tell you is Lambda while cruising is what's targeted. Part throttle, normal, low load, idle is all going to target Lambda. So most air fuel gauges are going to show you at 14.7 if you just buy an off-the-shelf aftermarket gauge, okay? They have different settings you can change to alter that. Most tuners like myself will view Lambda because it's universal for any fuel. So any type of variation in fuel quality, my Lambda readings are going to be accurate. So again, depending on the setting, under wide open throttle might range from 0.75 to 0.85 to 0.90. It really, there's so many variables within that. So it does come down to the overall combination. Listen to your tuner. They should tell you what to look out for, as we do. We direct and instruct. So it just comes down to the whole combination of things of what you're going for. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
what else we got?
Another one from Chris Mitchell. He's plotting.
Uh-oh.
You can tell he's plotting.
Uh-oh.
You can tell he's plotting. He's probably going to want us to make stuff.
Patient man, I'll tell you.
How quickly, we love you, Chris.
We do love you.
How quickly do IATs cool down going watt at the track using a velocity stack versus a stock airbox?
Oh, so, all right. So what he's referencing is any type of open air box, you know, the ones with big filters on it and things like that, specifically to an NA car. Well, we're going to focus on that because it's kind of more prone to happen there. There's no intercooler on them. If you have those open air box filters, or if we were to put a velocity stack on it, it is literally sucking engine bay heat. Hood closed. I've seen 200 degrees come through an IAT reading at a racetrack because somebody was idling before they launched. That does drastically kill your 60-foot.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people don't consider that. So, you know, as you can go wide open throttle, it starts to then, you know, airflow kicks in, starts displacing. So in regards, there's a lot of variables. What ambient temperature is. I would say a velocity stack will allow the temperature to drop slightly quicker due to the fact of that by design it's going to grab air from all different ways, right? But it does depend also on the vehicle based on the displacement of the air, okay? So you just have to try and, you know, there's not a specific formula or anything to it, but I will say a velocity stack, the point of it is it will bring in air easier from different areas, so it will allow for a quicker drop. But what is more important is masking off the area and isolating the airflow going into that area to drop it. That's why factory air boxes work so well. It keeps that heat out. They have usually snorkels on it from the front bumper, so it helps to displace the air quicker. So
Yes, you should.
yeah,
The other
there's no
option
time
is
for
spray
it.
it.
Just spray it.
Just spray it. Just spray it, man.
That's not NA. I mean, it's nitrous assisted.
Yeah, NA, nitrous
It's not on the
assisted.
street where you're talking, but yeah. So yeah, we're developing. We're going to be working on a velocity stack with a shield around it, so it should encompass all of those things.
Tons of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Think we're kind of coming to an end. Your opinion on the thermostat delete restrictors kits out there? It's like the piece of metal where there's a hole in it, and it says this one's 160, this one's 180.
Yeah. Was it last week we talked in depth about cooling?
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about the delete plates.
Well, no, but so
we talked pretty heavy.
without
about cooling.
going a full tangent on it, I do recommend to take time and fast forward to last week's video in which we did talk about lower thermostats and the pros and cons to them. So in regards to the restrictors, it's kind of the same thing. Why are you doing it, and what are you doing? Basically, a thermostat is a restriction built into the system. This one just allows it to kind of go at all times. So, again, I'm a big fan of putting temperature into these engines. So, you know, most of the people running those restricted thermostats, not a big fan of it. You know, it's again, we usually stick with stock thermostats on most of our builds, except if you get into super high horsepower, and then just run a normal thermostat. Understand what a restriction is going to do is it's going to take longer to actually achieve operating temperature. So you might be able to get to that end-all number like a 180 T-stat, right? But it's going to naturally take longer.
Especially in the winter, because you constantly have the flow.
Yeah.
So it's going through your radiator. It's minus 29 degrees, and you have minus 29 degree coolant going through your radiator at the start.
Right.
There's a reason that they open and close.
Yeah. So that's the downside to those restrictor plates is you're going to slow down the time it takes to get to operating temp. So yeah, if you're in a climate where it's 120 degrees and your engine coolant temp's already 130 when you start it, maybe a little different, but for most people, like now, you know, this morning it was 40 degrees out here. So if I had a restrictor plate in, that coolant is being cooled and flowing. My truck would never get up to operating temperature. Never, especially on my short drive.
No,
and that's not good for it. That's not good because I know a lot of these people probably neglect their oil changes as is, let alone if it's not achieving operating temperature. So keep that in mind. What's Don saying about Whipples and nitrous?
He wants to blow his car up.
No,
I talked him into a 200 shot. He said, okay, you talked me into it. I'm running a 100 shot tonight.
Yeah.
I say 200 or bust.
Oh, you
and then
got
he
the Whipple
says,
back?
I'm doing it.
Don, did you get the Whipple back? You've been waiting.
Whipple?
I lost track of the number too, whether it's 5 or 6, but yeah. Well, if you are, get data logs, bro.
The other thing about not being good for it with not heating up is, I don't know where y'all are. We're in Illinois and winters are cold. So it really sucks driving to work. And the entire trip, your car's not warm and not putting out heat. So think about that because that also does kind of affect it. But
Fourth one? Not bad.
Fourth one.
Not bad. All right. Give me a data log. I want to see it.
yeah.
200 shot. Go for it.
Uh-oh.
He said it, not me.
I know. Hey,
Then
hey,
I agreed
hey,
with it.
hey, okay. Oh,
And I agreed with it. So, yeah.
All right.
All right, next question.
I think we're about done. Anyone else have anything before we get out of
We're
here?
at
What are
hour
best
20
AFR
into.
numbers? Watt means pedal on the concrete below the clar. Yes. Watt means you can't push it further.
Yes.
If it still goes down, not watt. Should you port your heads? Should you? Port heads, what's the benefits? I guess NA or boosted application.
Porting heads. Again, it's one of those you're not going to have, if done correctly. So this is the thing with ported heads. You can screw up a head by over porting it or
We've
not
seen
doing
it.
it correctly. So I know there's guys, mad respect, that they port out of their backyard and, you know, they have good results on their, you know, vacuum designed float benches with a curtain and a laundry basket. But
Yep.
there's a lot of variables that go into a head porting. Now, if done correctly, it's beneficial. Now, sadly, on these Gen 3 Hemis, they don't gain as much as like an LS due to the fact that they are kind of optimized from the factory. And by design with the dual spark plug setup where the valves are, there's very limited space that can be had. Yep, and that's exactly what I was going to say is, you know, is it worth it? It's better than not, right? Big horsepower build, you know, if you get putting a forged motor in it and you're doing a cam, absolutely 10, 15, 20 horsepower
I'm not
maybe
doing
could
it.
be had from it. But if you're going serious on it, a set of thigh techs or AFR heads is the way to go. They're a different casting. It allows for naturally just better chambers by design, a thicker deck for better clamping force. But being it's a different cast setup, it allows for, you know, the larger valves and the overporting to be done more thoroughly. So larger valves, same thing. You're limited on how large you can go on a stock head. That's why we do go to thigh tech and AFR heads. There's just limited material and space on the factory head that allows for effective oversizing of the valves. So again, you can go too far if your setup doesn't need it, right? You know, an NA setup doesn't need
Bone
a
stock,
4-inch
stock cam,
intake valve,
NA,
right?
don't
Because
need
only a certain amount of air can be sucked in by the vacuum created by the downforce of the piston. So again, speccing accordingly, yes, larger valves are extremely beneficial. I have seen over 100 wheel horsepower come from throwing a set of heads onto a vehicle compared to stock or even ported to an aftermarket
Golly.
set. So again, going back to the efficiency talk, it's just making it work better. And Inconel valves for high horsepower and turbo setups, please use Inconel valves. Or stainless, you know, they're a little heavier, but you need those for very high horsepower builds, specifically turbo builds.
Oh.
I want to stop seeing sodium-filled valves in these high horsepower builds. I am warning you now.
Sorry, buddy.
You're not a high horsepower build, man.
At some point.
At some point. But
When
not
I
right
throw
now.
that motor together, it's been sitting against the wall for 2.5 years.
You got a 300.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of
I
stuff
want a
here.
BMW. I want a Focus ST.
I do want a BMW, and I do want a Focus ST. If anyone has an 8th Gen SI or a manual E36 coupe, hit me up. I'm not paying what you want. I'm going to lowball you. Just being
That's
honest.
right. That's definitely who's watching this, right?
At what point do those AFR or ThighTech heads, at what point are you like, okay, let's get away from the stock heads on a HELLCAT platform and let's move to this? Is there a power level, or is it kind of across the board? If you're already ready to spend that, just do it.
It's I would say you're going to see the benefits over airflow over 900 wheel horsepower by making the swap. There are benefits to it. I'm not going to see any negative effects by going to those. I'm not going to tell somebody, hey, I'm stock and I want to stay on pump gas and then throw a set of ThighTech.
Yeah.
I love ThighTechs and everything, but I just don't think it's necessary at that given point. But if you have a goal of 4 digits at any point in time and you're going to have a motor apart, I strongly do recommend to go in and do a set of ThighTechs. I get it; they're expensive, especially the Big Bear. I get it; AFR heads are expensive, but
Quality has its price, baby.
it does, yeah. But can you make massive power on stock heads? Absolutely, yeah. You can make 12, 1300, 1400 on stock heads. It's not a problem at all. It's just smarter, working smarter, not harder. You don't need 40 pounds of boost to do so. You drop it down to 24 pounds of boost. You know what I mean? It's just making it more efficient and smarter. Making everything overall work smarter. So
We should do a max efficiency build. Just throw everything we can at it on a HELLCAT. Just lower boost as much. Everything.
look at Jeff's, man. That thing is stupid. What it's
It
doing
low key
efficiency-wise.
is.
So you guys did,
Jeff,
we
your
just,
car's cool.
Yeah, we did. It's hard for you guys to gauge it and everything, but his car made 960 wheel at 13 pounds of boost.
That's stupid.
It was, and that was conservative E85 timing. So you want to talk about it. That's a ThighTech head 426. Like we said, HHP BES billet bottom end 426.
Custom turbo kit.
Our 88 mil turbo kit, but. That motor is just stupid efficient. Proper turbo cam in it. I had to play with the setting to get it to chop the way Jeff likes it,
Yep.
but it's just a stupid efficient setup. My daughter's gonna put me in timeout because I said stupid. I really think this thing probably would tip over 1,000 wheel horsepower at about 15, 16 pounds of boost on pump gas. If I put pump gas timing and hit 16 pounds, I bet you I can make 1,000 where, which is just crazy.
That's saucy.
So talking about max efficiency motor, that's where it's
That's
at.
kind of at.
Is it worth going stroker or just regular 426? Well, a 426 is a stroker. That's how you achieve 426. So what a stroker is you're increasing the distance that the piston will travel. So to achieve 426 of cubic inches, you have to increase the stroke of of a travel. So, yep. I said a bit. Oh, they're watching.
Yep. Jeremy will be in jail tonight.
No, timeout, not jail, but
Timeout jail.
Yes, in regards to that, it's right now with the technology, with the parts that are available, all 426s, bigger displacement, especially on a turbo setup. More displacement gives you more torque, low end, mid range power, and then with the proper heads cam setup, makes more horsepower sooner. The thing you have to be careful of, based on how you spec your bottom end, is RPM. So as I tell my guys here, displacement doesn't always translate to horsepower, because if any dyno graph, you can see, one is, yeah. So any dyno graph, horsepower comes with RPM. And what happens when you put aggressive angles out of a stroker setup, 426, these guys with 454s, it's very strenuous as the piston goes up and down and what the force it puts on the cylinder walls. So you got to understand they don't necessarily like RPM. Would I rev a 392 engine to 7,600 RPM? I absolutely have, yes. 426, not unless you got a billet set up. It's one of those, you got to be kind of smart about what everything is. Is smaller displacement might need, that RPM to make a bigger horsepower number, where a bigger displacement can make that horsepower to lower RPM. So like Jeff's, we'll rev to 7,000 RPM and that's about it. We're not going to take it to 7,600 and it makes stupid power below. Another timeout. It makes power, very good power for what it is at that point, and that's the benefit of displacement. If this was a stock 6.2, for example, in regards to displacement with a set of ThighTechs, I'd probably have to rev it out to 7,500 to achieve the same thing. So we would be able to make the same horsepower? Probably. It just requires a little more RPM to do so, just based on the setup. So in regards to that, some inside say 426, and then the stroker was like way more money. So again,
Options.
426, it's the options of the internals. So the rods, the crank, billet main caps, and things like that. So
I mean, you can go on HHP's website, find a 426, and option it, and it can go from like what, $7,000 to 15 in just a matter of button clicks. So it's how they're built.
Yeah, even more.
Parts.
They're $20,000 one, but yeah. Stroker, the kit, the stroker itself is the rods, pistons, and the crank. Is generally what a stroker kit is. 426 is the displacement, which to achieve that you do need to stroke it. Compared to starting with the 6462 base, you do have to stroke it. So that's what a stroker kit is it increases the displacement on it. So it just depends on the components. They have forge parts. They have better forged parts than others. They have I-beams, H-beams. They have billet. That's going to be the more expensive ones. So again, it's the material and the type of component. Not all stroker kits are made the same. Not all cranks are made the same. Not all H-beams are made the same. Not all I-beams are made the same. So not all pistons are made the same. No. So it's a matter of the collaboration of everything. And yes, you can get a stroker from $10,000 to $40,000. So you just got to spec it based on what you're trying to achieve. So
I think that's about it.
All right, I think it's good because I'm hungry.
Of,
about to slap
anything else, and I'm ready to take a nap. So
nap and hungry. It's just not good. All right, guys, thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week.
Learn about that BMW.
No, don't.
Please.
Please don't.
Please
right,
do.
guys, have a
Hit us
good
up.
weekend. Take care.